back. What's good, Kenny? Kenny survived another hurricane. Bro, you have stories, so let's hear them, man.
No, it's nothing crazy. So yeah, everybody know Hurricane Helene was coming up. It was supposed to probably landfall somewhere north of Tampa Bay, Florida, but it kind of hit more north of there, kind of in the Big Bend area. Florida people, they got a lot of rain. There was already reports of people having 3 to 4 feet of water in their house. One of the news reporters I was watching, he said that his parents stayed, but they were already trapped upstairs in their upstairs apartment of their home. But in my area, Southeast Georgia, we were not predicted to get anything crazy other than a couple of winds and maybe a couple of little bands of rain. So for us, it mostly just drizzled, but then we kept getting notifications of a hurricane, not hurricane, a tornado warning. So we basically had 3 tornado warnings. So that is
Wow.
the thing that mostly affected us. It was the actual hurricanes. I mean, the actual tornadoes from the hurricane. Unfortunately, lost power on Thursday night. The tornadoes were strong enough that where it tore down the telephone lines, the telephone poles, the electrical poles, also the cellular towers. So that was the
That's
big thing
crazy.
that happened. So in addition with that happening and the power going out,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, it turned off also the water treatment plants. So the domino effect was the tornadoes from the hurricane caused massive power outage. The massive power outage wasn't just like transformer here or there blowing up. It was from the
hmm
actual infrastructure of the electricity grid getting torn apart. In addition to that, it led to the water plants losing their power, so they couldn't function on water, so they couldn't pump out water. So no electricity, no water, and then because no electricity, no internet, and then because the towers, the cell towers were down, everybody was losing cellular communications, or it was super spotty. So that was the whole thing of from basically Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, till about Tuesday. So basically 5 days with limited capabilities. Luckily, I got electricity and stuff back kind of on Monday, but it was still spotty because they were still going through and replacing stuff. So the power be on for an hour, go out for like 2 hours, come
hmm
back on for 30 minutes, go off for 5 minutes. So it was not stable at all. We are still under a water boil thing, but the water is running now, but we can't consume it directly from the faucet. You got to boil it, put it in the kettle, or drink bottled water and all that stuff. I mean, you can still use it for bathing and washing clothes and things like that, but you can't consume water, and they still haven't lifted that yet. And other than that, cell coverage is still relatively spotty in some areas because the cell tower that used to be there to make that nice little jump when you're driving down the highway or whatnot, it doesn't exist anymore. So trying to do anything on the internet was impossible. And then if you try to use your cellular data, it was extremely slow. I ran a speed test one time just to see. It was like 1 megabit download and zero point 0.5 megabit upload. So you
Jesus
were not doing
Christ.
anything. You were just,
That's not internet.
yeah,
I
that's,
mean,
you
I
could
guess in
probably,
an emergency you can send data. So my question is, when your phone went down, did you go into SOS mode? Did you have access to that so you could contact emergency services?
I really didn't pay attention to that actually, now to think about it. Because you could still make calls and get data in. It was just extremely slow. But you got to think that's probably because they're missing the towers, and people are probably trying to call their family, check on everybody. And mostly what my family did, we just sent text messages. I mean, we're big on the
hmm
just the text and like, hey, everything's good over there, everything good over there. Um, but it was just pretty much that. If you wanted to pull, like, checking your email, it took a long time for your email to populate, and it was just because, as much as we take for granted the cellular data, but it is there and it does really work fast when you actually need it, when it's normal compared to when the cell tower is missing. And then in this area there's tons of trees, and like I live more in a quasi rural area. So the closest tower, it wasn't damaged, but the next one over, which makes it good for triangulation about where I live at, where normally I have like a solid 5 bars right now, but that means that when one is just up, then that cuts it down by what, 2/3. So that was
So
really
your
what it was.
cellular data, you have 5 bars at your house.
Yeah, right now I have, yep, 5.
Yeah, I never have that. I mean, I
Oh well,
never.
I
I
have right now,
mean,
and
I don't
one.
even, I don't even know, I don't even know if I could trust my cellular experience. I mean, I've never had 5 bars of sound.
Yeah,
you know.
well, I got five. So,
Yeah,
and
no,
what I
that's
think happened
impressive,
too
man.
is
Definitely at
that
home. I
if they're
remember.
replacing it with stuff, they might be using basically newer equipment. So that may be right. Because normally I would have about four, but if they're putting them back up and everything, because if you drive around, you see nothing but Comcast, Xfinity, T-Mobile, Verizon trucks everywhere, and Coastal Georgia Power and all that stuff. That's all, basically all the vehicles you mostly see on the road is that. Um, but yeah, my situation is if the water didn't go out, I still would have been able to stay in my home and not leave. But because the water did go out, I had to go to my family's big house because they have a generator and a well and everything like that. So
Is that
that's
what this
basically
video,
what it.
this picture is here? A bunch of
Yes,
repair. Yeah,
yes, those are
that's
electric trucks
crazy.
that are out repairing the electrical lines and everything. Usually, if you live in an area like this, they'll usually do a pathway that they'll put all the telephone poles, electric poles up. But when it comes through and it tears them all down, not just snaps the lines, but tears the actual pole down, then you got to go out there and put the actual pole and everything back up. So that was the major thing. And overall, they did say Georgia was issued a state of emergency, but it's really because the infrastructure was destroyed. The
Hmm.
infrastructure had been good and there's nothing overly wrong with it, but it's because the tornadoes came through and destroyed it. So that's the horrible part about everything that happened. But it means we may get new stuff. And like I said, I got 5 bars and normally I have about four. So if they're putting up new stuff, new equipment, and not dated equipment, it might work a little bit better. So I'll get a little bit better coverage.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't want to say silver linings because there's no question,
No.
not just the inconvenience, but there's definitely at least one person who needed emergency care that wasn't able to reach it, and their lives has been changed by that experience. So,
Yeah, and
well,
unfortunately, too, the death toll currently, last time I seen on the news was that 220 people that have already basically lost their lives throughout the storm, from ranging from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and so condolences to them and their families.
yeah, it's absolutely the devastation is hard to understand. You know, it's hard
Yeah,
to put into your mind. Most people have never seen anything like that in their lives. You know, they can't like look at a community that was once there and see that it's completely gone. It's a completely life changing. Like you know how fragile your experience is once you see some devastation of that level. And
yeah,
you know, my heart goes out to the families and the people who live in that community. It is hard to live in this country with the economic policies that exist as they are now. Um, the fact that insurance companies, there are a lot of people who've been affected by the situation, and the insurance companies are not going to do their part. A lot of this is going to have to come out of their own pocket. Hopefully, the monies that are the government puts forward is actually disseminated equally because we know in the past, depending on what neighborhood you lived in, you may receive all the funds you're appropriated, and a lot of times they direct that based on the political will in those communities. And we're talking about largely southern places. And so I'm just hoping that the DOJ and the powers that be make sure that this money is given out equally and not just distributed to certain types of people. Because we know in the past, under George Bush and under Trump, these monies were not shared equally. And depending on the neighborhood you were in, you're still fighting to get your fair share. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is all people. This is not a particular. This is not about race. This is about certain people who have been throughout historic history in America disenfranchised based on reasons. We know what those reasons are. It could be your disabilities, it could be your race, it could be where you come from, it could be your religion. We know America has the proclivity to do such. So I'm just hoping the DOJ does two things. One, make sure this money is disseminated equally, and also targets people who are out there doing scams. Because doing hurricanes, there is nothing but scammers out there trying to take advantage of people at their their time of most need. I mean, don't want to get into politics, but even Trump was just literally lying about bringing aid to people in, I think, North Carolina, which was a complete lie. He had nothing to do with the aid there. And then there's allegations that he was trying to control where the aid goes. So it's unfortunate.
So in regard to the question, in the state of Georgia, they have opened up like emergency assistance shelters and everything, and they are doing basically wellness checks, sending people out to go check on people. And hopefully, if you were a disabled citizen that lives in any of these states, you were able to get in contact with somebody in your family. But they are doing the most is in sending people out to get render aid and render care and verify that people are okay and good to go. So if you're a disabled veteran, by all means, reach out to your family member. Watch the news. The news every day they have where different things are available. They put up the numbers of what you need to call, especially for like people that didn't have homeowners insurance and things like that. Mostly for like my area, it was just a bunch of roof damage. Like right now, I don't know if y'all can hear it, but one of my neighbors are actually getting their roof done because it blew off a big old chunk of shingles and everything. So my house only got a couple of little bit of shingles off of, but my roof is relatively good. I just had it inspected before my purchase, but yeah. So if you are in need of help and you are in the states of Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, make sure you're watching the news. They are providing the information that somebody needs some type of assistance. The government is giving out money. If you're a veteran, also, there are a lot of resources that are the veterans are offering, and also if you bank with any type of particular bank, because I get notifications from my bank and everything like, hey, we know that you're in a hurricane area. Is there anything that you need assistance with? And basically, I think if I was to ask them for money or something, if I needed something, that they would at least point me in the right direction if they weren't able to provide it to me directly or whatnot. But there are things available for people that need the help.
Absolutely. And be careful, reach out to those authorities that are regulated, the official authorities in your community. Do not, and also look out for your parents because this is a time where the older generation are targeted by scammers. So if you're not in the state of Georgia or North Carolina or Florida and you have parents there, make sure you're protecting them from these scammers because this is exactly the time that these people go and try to scam our parents and our elderly and our disabled because they're in a time of need. Is there anything else you want to say on this before we transition, Kenny?
No, I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing is Biden. He did send out like 1,000 soldiers to assist with some of the recovery efforts. I mean, or the reconstitution efforts, I guess you can call it, of cleaning up the debris and getting everything back in working order. Unfortunately, there are still some people without power, particularly more north of me in North Carolina and stuff like that. But I still got people that are within maybe an hour drive that still don't have power. So it is the reason I kind of lucked up is because I live relatively close to a fire station and a police station, so I knew they wanted to get them off of generators quickly. So that's more than likely why, since my neighborhood is kind of close to that this power grid area came back up sooner than it did because we were being forecasted till like Thursday or yesterday. I wasn't supposed to have it, but luckily it worked in my favor.
Oh yeah, there's nothing better than living next to a fire station. So we live literally like right next to like a fire station. So there's two things that never happen to us. The roaming blackouts, we don't experience those because we're on the
Mm-hmm.
grid with the fire station. Um, I don't care about the police. I could care less. I don't think they do their job. I think they're biased. I think it's a racist institution. So calling the police as a black person is just not in your best interest. They're just going to harass you. They're going to threaten you. That's what they do. There's no such thing as a good cop. The only good cop is one that's not in your home or in your vicinity. That's my opinion. I have historical data to back it up. With that said, though, as we talk about the cops and talk about the justice system, we got our boy Diddler Combs. Son Diddler Combs is once
Yeah.
again back in the limelight or the spotlight or in
No,
the
he's never
what do
left.
you
He's
call
never
it
left.
when they put that light on you from a helicopter? Spotlight, right?
Yeah, it's a spotlight for the
Where there
helicopter.
you go. The cops got their spotlight on this guy once more. And I did say to Kenny, I wonder how many more women are going to come forward with an allegation.
No, it's not just gonna be women.
Well, yeah, it's not gonna just be. Well, it's not just gonna be women, but I mean, how many more? Okay, let me change that. How many more people are going to come up with allegations against the diddler before it's all said and done? Let me change that. I really believe there's going to be a lot personally.
Well, already Houston attorney Tony Bubsy held a press conference to reveal details on over 100 lawsuits against Sean Combs and the other defendants that are part of his bad boy enterprise. A total of 120 individuals are represented in these lawsuits.
Uh
So
huh.
does that give you a number?
Yeah,
Around
that's okay. That's a lot. That's a lot. I literally thought 100, and I was wrong. It's more than
and
100,
and more are to be coming
and more
forward.
to come. Absolutely,
Yeah.
and we have to come up with a better name than freak offs because to me that's kind of it. I want to say like comedies the situation because the name is so absurd. It was rapes. It was sex trafficking. Let's call it what it was. Let's not try to color it with something that would be like
Well,
on
no, they're
in living
calling it what he
color.
called it.
He called it that, but
No,
we can
that's what
call
he.
yeah, because he didn't want to call it what it was. It was sex trafficking.
No,
It was sex trafficking. That's what it was. There was multiple rapes. Women were held, were drugged. That's not a freak off. That is sex trafficking 101 is what you do. He's following the same uh, roadmap of Epstein and Andrew Tate, these individuals that take advantage of people because they have great access to funds or to social capital. And I
well,
hope they all burn in hell, honestly. Uh, I don't miss that Diddy is in the situation he is. If we would have a justice system that was righteous, he would have been in prison a long time ago. Him, R. Kelly, Andrew Tate, John Epstein, Donald Trump, they're all the same level of criminals. They all done the same thing. They all talk about sexual assault. Trump said you can grab them by their vaginas, you can do what you want to them. So I mean, it's just reality of these kind of bastards. They all need to be in prison. If you have moral qualms with what Diddy did, then you have the same issue with John Epstein. You have that same issue with Donald Trump. They're all cut from the same cloth. I guarantee you, there are videos and photos of Trump at parties with Diddy. What's that say about Trump? That he's a dirty dog. You got anything else you want to say? The woman is called Jane Doe, so we don't know who she is. So before people start asking, uh, we have no idea. She gets to keep her. She needs to protect herself from those who like to exploit victims of this kind of carnage.
yeah, the one question that keeps popping up that I keep seeing, particularly on like social media and stuff, is whether or not he is going to basically flip on other people.
I
Because
mean,
if you
is can he flip on other people? Like he is the top. Like who?
no, well, as in prove that other people were also doing this with him, because the big thing is all the video data they recovered from his home, and he had parties that people would go to, and it's no telling who went to these parties.
Oh,
And a
I
lot
can't.
of people say that it's somebody else very prominent is fully guilty, but they have been laying extremely quiet. My guess, and this is going to be a crazy one, but my guess is probably like Will Smith,
Why did
because
you
Will
say
Smith
Will
has
Smith?
always had, huh?
Why Will Smith? Will Smith isn't
Because
close
Will
to Diddy,
Smith
is
has
he?
always had some interesting stories around him and his wife, and this is all
Yeah, yeah,
alleged.
but he has no
But
stories around him and Diddy. From everything
yes,
I ever heard. All right, first things first. You're throwing out a name there. We're going to kill that because there has been nobody in Diddy's circle who's ever said Will Smith. Not a bodyguard, not a friend.
there
Hold on, stop,
there's
Kenny.
there's information on people that are connected in the media world, like Wendy Williams types, who have these investigative abilities to find out
I
interesting
have
things on
not
other
heard
celebrities.
anybody around Diddy say Will Smith.
Okay, you haven't. I have.
I'll look it up right now. But from everything I saw, everything I saw, from his bodyguards to the people closest to him that are talking, none of them have ever said his name. You know the names they said? They've said Usher. They said Jay
Hmm.
Z. They
Hmm.
said Muso Moguls. They have not even whispered Will Smith's name. So Wendy
Well,
Williams over
there's
here, look, Wendy Williams plays in bullshit. I don't trust anything Wendy Williams says. I don't. She's
okay.
lucky.
That's
She's like a
fine.
clock. She's like a
I'm
clock
just
that's
telling you.
broken. They're
Okay,
right
and a
twice a
broken
day.
clock is right at least twice a day. A
Yeah,
broken clock is right at least
but
twice a day.
her shit has always been innuendo. I mean, it was a time when she was saying 50 Cent and Diddy were in a circle. Like we know that's bullshit. So
No,
Wendy
that's
Williams
completely.
is on
50
bullshit.
Cent
This is
actually
the
hates
same
Diddy.
woman. This is the same woman who be throwing all kind of people under the bus based on innuendo, and then it came out that she was a fucking liar, and she ended up getting fired from the company she was working for. So I'm just gonna be real cautious that that's your resource, because
No,
all the
that's not my
resources
resource. It's other.
around Diddy.
There's other things that are going on in the social,
Yeah,
cultural
but
sphere of all this
but
stuff.
the internet innuendo and people who are in the circle of Diddy, we all know who Diddy's circle was. They've been
Yeah,
very verbal.
and there's other
Like,
people
all right,
too.
for instance, I'll put it like this: the individual, the bodyguard that said that a male rapper was raped, and then weeks later that male rapper comes out and says that Diddy did it, is the guy I trust, because he's
Okay.
saying names. Those names come up. He has never ever said that Will Smith was around Diddy.
Okay.
Same thing
Well,
with.
that was based upon the stuff that I heard, and like it's somebody else that just is almost on the same or
No, it's not. Look,
slightly
strange.
above the footing of Diddy,
I don't.
and that's why my
We
guess
have a
was Will Smith.
channel. Okay, you know what happens? It's called defamation. Strain, and defamation can come get your ass. And internet defamation will get your ass. You know how I
That's why I
know?
said
Because the
allegedly, in
woman
my
who
opinion.
attacked. Remember the woman on YouTube who made allegations about Cardi B? That
Tasha
bitch
K.
is broke and unemployed right now because Cardi B took her to court for saying shit that was not real.
She's
So
not.
we are
She's
going to
not
be
unemployed. She
responsible on
still
this
has a
channel,
YouTube
and we
channel.
ain't just going to start saying names. I mean, I have not
I
seen
can say names if
anything
I say
out
alleged.
there
I said, in
from a
my opinion, this is
reputable
alleged.
person, and I'm not talking about Twitterverse or the Twitchverse or some comment section on X, because we all know that's bullshit. I have not heard any resource around Diddy that was or in that circle with Diddy ever say his name. The names that I've heard from that circle that could be repeated have been just a handful of names like Aaron Hall, you know, uh, a couple of executives who immediately after being named by the bodyguard when Diddy was arrested resigned from their positions in that situation.
What he say?
Yeah,
Just say
because
it
we're
real
not
quick.
going to get a defamation case. Strange.
You're
Go
not gonna get
ahead,
a
create a
defamation case.
channel and say some bullshit. And I guarantee you, the next time we talk about you, like, you hear what happened to Strain? That motherfucker broke now. Because Will Smith took him to court and took all his whole life from him. Because this is what
Hence, that is
happens.
why you say allege, and this is my opinion,
But
and this is the
again, you can
thing.
say it. Hey, the Cardi
And I
B
did say
chick said
alleged.
alleged too.
No,
But
she
then,
did
yes,
not.
he
Tasha
did.
K did not.
When they called
Tasha
out her,
K did not.
I'll pull it up
Tasha
right
K
here.
did not.
I'll pull it up right
Okay,
now.
we're,
Go
we're
ahead.
deferring from the thing, but are you still on this?
Yeah, we can still be on it. I mean, you can say you can go ahead and speak, but I'm gonna bring up that woman because I do remember the situation. And at first he was like, "It's alleged," and then she was like, "Oh no, I know someone who was in the circle, and they told me it was true." You don't get both of those, and you just said
No,
it was alleged,
I
and then
never.
you said,
I
"Well, I
said my
heard."
opinion. Hence, when I
Opinion.
said
You can't
my
have an
opinion,
opinion on
and this is
something.
all alleged,
Hold up, Kenny. You
I can have
can't.
my opinion.
You can go to jail for your opinion. You can go to
You
court
can't
to
go to
your
jail for
opinion.
your
Your
opinion.
opinion is bull.
You can go
Kenny,
to
you
jail
in the military.
for
What do we
defamation.
say
I can go
about
to jail for my
opinions?
opinion.
Kenny, what do we say about opinions in the military? What are they?
No, this is my opinion. I'm not in the
That's
military,
fine. That's fine.
so I can
That's
say
fine.
my
But what
opinion.
do we
That's
say
what I'm
about
saying.
opinions in the military? They're like assholes. Everyone has one, and that's how you go to Captain Mass. That's the end of
Well,
it.
I've never
You can
said
have
that,
an
but this is
opinion.
my opinion.
You'll still end up at a
Well, this is
Captain
still my
Mass,
opinion, and
and
you
you'll
aren't
still
unable to
end up
change
in the
it.
same situation.
All right,
And
let's move
ignorance
on to the
is
next
not a
thing.
defense. So that's what I'm
Let's
gonna
move
say.
on. Okay.
So on the channel, we're gonna just Will Smith has nothing to do with it. We have no
That's your
evidence of
opinion,
that. We have
and that
no
is your
evidence of
opinion.
such. We are not going to allow that to continue. We don't have an opinion because
I
we are
do have
not
an
there. We
opinion.
were not in the circle.
Just
We
so
were
we
not
are
invited to
clear,
the
this is
party.
my
You
opinion.
can't
Just so
have an
we are clear,
opinion
this
on
is my
something that you
opinion.
never experienced. Were you at the
Just so we
parties?
are clear, this is my opinion of something that I heard. I'm like, you know what I think it could be? This is my opinion. This is my
I'm not
logical,
scared of what's me.
illogical,
I'm scared
irrational guess
of the
that I want to
judicial
say.
system, strange strain. I know you may not be because you don't have a channel, a
You said you're
YouTube
scared
channel.
of
You
Will
don't have
Smith.
the responsibility of TOS. We do. We have responsibility to terms of service.
We
You
don't want to get into
can
terms
get
of
in a
service.
lot of
Let's move on to
trouble
the next
for
thing.
saying what he just said without
Let's move
evidence.
on to the next thing because we're not talking about terms of service.
But I mean, we're not talking about it, but that's what it is.
All right.
With that said, so there are new avatars
So yeah, Meta
from
is going
Meta.
super hard on this new avatar thing because they are really pushing to make the metaverse a thing. And remember back in the beginning when they dropped the metaverse, the avatars didn't have lower bottoms because
I
they
have
were taught
values,
that people.
Strange. There's a difference between being scared and having values. I know you may not have them. That is fine. Not a judgment of you, but I'm not going to let you try to attack me for having standards and respect for people's privacy and not putting out things, innuendo, and false statements. That's not what we do on this channel. Maybe that's something that you might be interested in. Maybe other channels do it, but it won't be happening here. That's the reality. I wouldn't say anything about you on this channel without any evidence of it, right? I wouldn't have any. I'm not attacking you. You're attacking me, calling me scared because I respect people. Okay, Strange Strain plays with himself in the bathroom. Would that be okay to say? No, it's not. So when you talk about respecting people's like their privacy and their humanity, you want me to respect yours, right? If I knew your real name and where you were, and I said things about you that weren't true, they would have a real outcome on your life, right? No? Yes. All right then. So then I'm not gonna say those things about you. You know what I'm saying? For real. Don't. Oh, you want to backpedal now, but that's the reality of it. Well, that's what you go for it. Make a Strange said he'll make a video of himself playing with
I
himself.
know.
But he
All
also
right.
said laugh out loud, which he's being jokeful. But if I only put up the chat where he says he's gonna make a video of him saying playing with himself, and then I didn't put in the part where he said LOL, knowing that's a joke, I would be doing something that would be it would be unethical. See how that works? Because I could have just created a video and go, oh, this dude say strange hit our channel up saying he's gonna play with himself. But he was joking. And you were like, I was joking, obviously, but I don't share that part. That's the danger. That's why TOS matters. Because your safety and your respect matters. I know you don't, but if someone figures it out, you will, bro. I promise you. As soon as you become an internet meme, you can't get away from that. Now, back to the story at hand. We're talking about our buddy here, uh, the metaverse. Kenny, we have new metaverse avatars.
Yeah.
Why should we
So
care?
because apparently they're really pushing hard for this metaverse thing where people really to start using it. I don't know what they're about to do. They're making a new AI generator with clothing and stuff. I don't know if you recall when the metaverse was first coming out that the avatars didn't have lower bottoms because people were doing weird stuff with the avatars and their lower bottoms. Do you remember that?
I remember that there was no real body down there at first, and then he created legs for them, and
Yeah.
then they didn't look that cool. Here's the problem with the metaverse: it just isn't interesting. I mean, honestly, no one's there. It's a desolate area. You can add legs, you can do all those things, but if the metaverse is just one more crummy place for people to be, that will eventually become the breeding ground for bigots and racists to congregate. Because we all know when regular people don't participate in the thing, the people who then infest that place are people that we don't want to be around in the first place. So it's just going to end up the meta is going it's going to be a social ghetto where we have all our bigots and all our pedophiles. They'll get together in that area and they'll celebrate their dongs and they'll do their things in public because this is what happens. This is what happened to Twitter. Twitter was a place where you had open discussions and exchange of ideas, and now all it is now is porn pictures and far right racists. Like that's all it
Look,
is now.
All I know is I don't think there's a space anywhere on any type of media or internet that you actually really like. If there is, I want to know what it is. Is it Nebula?
I mean, Nebula is cool. It's a science channel, so I mean, it's just liberal arts writers, thinkers, philosophers. That's what it is. But there are social channels that I like. I mean, I used to love MySpace because it was actually a social website. MySpace and Black Planet were actually social websites. They were. You met people, you can reconnect with people. Matter of fact, me and you reconnected multiple times on Black Planet. Just even though we were in the same town. Just on Black Planet, I see a little dot pop up. I'm like, hey man, what's up? Where you at?
Mhm.
Man, I'm back in San Diego. Shit, where you at? I'm over here in the lab. All right, son, I'm still here at the hospital. I'm about to walk down there. There was a social
So,
website. Now today it's not. It's a place where people are literally trying. My problem with these areas is that they are driven by anger and manipulation and the
mhm.
algorithm that feeds it. And I don't want to be a part of any algorithm that's nurturing my madness. Like, I guarantee you, I'm not. I mean, I'm just gonna assume. But if I looked in certain people's in the comment sections, social media streams, it'd be full of bullshit. Everything in there is to anger them or motivate them towards a certain behavior. That is why they have proclivity to engage with innuendo and conspiracies. Not because they actually engage with things that they actually experience. Because, like I said before, on the gaming channel, you can't have an opinion about something that you did engage with. I don't have an opinion
so
on certain types of food that I've never
so then
tasted.
that'll lead me back around to this. Have you engaged in the metaverse?
I I first opened it up on my phone with the AVR app for Apple. And I started with that way before they had the metaverse. Apple had this AVR where you can play games and you can engage with this VR world.
So, but you haven't engaged with the metaverse.
No, because I just had no interest. Once I've learned what it was in this situation, I'd much rather play with Legos than to actually build digital, Legos. I'd rather play racing car games with my kids on a track rather than do it in this VR world. It just didn't pull me in there because the things that exist right now, I'd much rather go outside and feel grass than actually to have meta grass. You see what I'm saying? If I want to go for a walk and get away from something, I'll go sit. I'll go. I mean, okay, maybe I'm lucky because I live in a area where there's multiple parks and multiple trails and lakes and stuff I can walk to. So I can walk to these areas and experience them. Maybe you don't have that experience. And maybe through VR, that's the best way for you to engage with it. But I would much rather smell it, hear it, and feel it in real time. And really, for the things that I would use VR for, I have the real world for. And if I want to engage with friends and family, I just have them over. I mean, maybe in the future there will be a use for Meta, but Meta is just what? Zoom? It's a more engaging Zoom. I don't even like Zoom now. I don't want to do Zoom meetings. I don't want to participate. And so, why would I engage with a different version of Zoom? Because that's what it is now. And
Okay.
maybe there are, Strange said Mako space. I'm not familiar with what that is, but
I don't
maybe
know what
there
that
are
is.
some cool places that you can go there and be a part of. I'm just not interested in those. I mean, one of the spaces in Meta is a mall. Motherfucker, I could go to the mall. I'd rather go to the regular mall. I'm if I'm gonna go to the mall, I'm gonna go eat, find me something unique to eat. I might buy myself some earrings. I want to touch things. I might do some shopping. That's real world experience. What can
Not
meta?
for
All
me.
right, my question to you: what could the metaverse give me that the real world can't make 10 times better?
What can the meta world give you that the real world can't make 10 times better? It's the same reason you play a video game to escape, get away. You can put on the
No,
meta
no, there
stuff
are
and act like
things
you're a
in video
superhero.
games that I cannot do in the real world. Like, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077. I cannot be a net runner wizard who's able to kill people through TVs and through uh, cameras. I'm not able to drop an entire army of an entire brigade of individuals with my mind. With my mind. I can't do that. So I engage with that because that's freaking cool. Now, I cannot go to different planets like in Mass Effect Andromeda and be a biotic god, right? I
So
can't
you
do that.
mean to
It
tell me you
exactly
cannot fathom the concept that if you put on the meta space gear and you see the same
it's
things,
not. I
except
can't do
now
any of
it's
those things
directly
in
in
the
your
meta.
face?
In the meta, I can't be a net runner god or a biotic god.
I
I
just think they
can't
haven't made the
be
game for you yet.
a little glowing squirrel running through a make believe world. I can't be shrunk down to the size of an ant and go to war with nature. Like none of those things meta does.
At
If
this
Meta
point in
did
time.
those things, maybe that would be the experience. But Meta
Yeah.
is a worse example of reality just made in anime form. So I'm animated in a less desirable animation. I mean, look at these pictures, these avatars. I
Well, they're saying
mean,
that this is
I
supposed
don't
to be
want to
more
be these
geared towards
things.
enticing the younger age people to get involved into the meta space because they said the old ones they didn't do good with their testing group. So if you go through them, and I think the last asset is an image of what it used to look like or what it would have looked like before compared to what it would look like now. But this is also very much similar to that the Apple AI thing when you like do the face over. I forget what you called it. The thing that I couldn't get on my iPad,
What's it called? The Metaspace, right?
Metaverse.
Oh, Metaverse. Here we go. I wanted to see if they're going to share the amount of people engaged with the metaverse each day, and I'm looking at uh, a business channel, and they're saying that they don't share the numbers for Facebook's metaverse. And so
Okay.
their inference is that it probably isn't a lot of people, because if it was a lot of people, because Meta loves to talk about the billions of people that engage with them every day, but they don't share the numbers of who's engaging with the metaverse. That is probably a small population of people. And from people who actually go into the metaverse, there's places that are pretty much empty. So I'm pretty sure kids aren't engaging with the metaverse because it's attached to something that they call old. Like my kids don't go on Facebook because Facebook for old people. So the metaverse is connected to Facebook. I don't even think they have Facebook. They have Instagram and they have TikTok.
Instagram is Facebook though.
Yeah, but Instagram they engage with is not, and to them that's a completely different world than
I can
Facebook.
understand
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
I do
So
understand that they
just
think
like
it's a different thing, but
yeah, so for them, they see Facebook as something that their grandparents have. They don't engage with it and they don't care for it. And the metaverse is so caught up in they're really building off, they're using the funds and the population of Facebook to create their metaverse, and that population is 60 and 70-year-old grandparents.
and maybe we work for them then because they can look young again, go walking around if they can't walk, all those things. Wait, hold on, let me check something real quick. All right, yeah, all right, cool. Want to go on to the next thing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Next thing we have here is three
This was
minute
kind of
YouTube
interesting.
shorts. So I
Yeah,
was wondering what this was coming because like a minute is a good point, but You almost need like 3 minutes to get a whole thought. You can have a beginning, a middle, an end, and tell an entire story. But here's my question, Kenny.
What's up?
Attention deficit disorder.
It
It's
exists.
not that, but it's like internet attention deficit disorder. We are just making it, either we're doing two things. One, we're going back to the great writers of the past that said if you can't tell a story in 3 sentences, you don't have a story. And I
Okay.
believe that's true. I do. When I go back, when I learned that important part in college about that situation, uh, Strange Strain is like a troll, is he not? The dude's a
What do you say?
troll. That's what he is. He's obsessed with Will
He
Smith.
said three
Like
minutes,
I
not
think
two
the
minutes.
dude might actually be Will Smith, and he's just trying to look for a payday. Like he's trying to get us to talk about him. He wants us to talk about him so he can then go get a defamation case against us. That's what I truly believe. But with that said, I think we've taken the YouTube experience and we either did two things to it. We stretched it out too far and said things need to be an hour long. Because you remember YouTube used to say these things needed to be an hour long. And then because what YouTube started out, it was short little videos. Like if you could
Hmm.
tell your story in about 3-4 minutes, you got you got it. But then that
Hmm.
was too short because YouTube is about holding someone's attention for a long
Hmm.
amount of time. And so now we're what cycling back to short videos because
Well,
I'm all here for it.
one of the major things is because TikTok holds so much of the content creation space in the short form media. So basically, YouTube is just trying to compete with them because TikTok was the first one that said, "All right, cool. We don't want you to just make minute clips. We're gonna give y'all 3 minutes to make something." And then also TikTok actually have where you can do live streaming and all that stuff on it now. So it was always this weird thing where I hate it because if I want to watch something, I want to be thoroughly entertained, enjoy a nice chunk of time. Like I love watching YouTube videos that are about 20 to 30 minutes long, and it matters what it's about. I sit and watch a thing on YouTube for a whole hour. I never got into the shorts. Like I can't get into TikTok. I never got into Facebook shorts. Something about that is just it's mind numbing. And then I know it is
I
because
agree.
I can see like the young people, they just sit there and flick through, flick through, flick through, flick through. I'm like, what was the last video you just watched? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
You just
there's
sit
no
there, laugh, and
information
flick through.
exchange. Like
Say what?
I like videos, even if they're like a minute long, that really challenge you on being succinct with what you're trying to convey. Sometimes we can be so verbose and so eloquent, yet never really say anything. You know what? It's like a Donald Trump speech. I ain't trying to shoot shots, but if you ever hear him speak, he'll have one point. It'll be an hour later. He'll still be on that same point, and you'll be like, "How the hell did we get here?" Because you could have said that in a much succinct way, and that's true for all of us. That's true for
I don't
all
know.
of
I
us.
just think, and also my big thing is I used to have Vine. I don't know if you remember what Vine is, but
Nah, I
Vine
never
was that
fucked with Vine.
first, it was the first short form video platform thing where people were making
Heard
all
people
these
loved it
clips and
though.
stuff. Yeah, people loved it, but it was the first of its kind, so it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, because it blew up so big, that kind of became the thing for this particular generation of these short, snappy things. But to me, it was more for the entertainment and comedy. I
Mm-hmm.
hate the fact that it feels like sometimes people are trying to put realistic, world changing, or life changing information into a short form 3 minute short clip. To me, no. Explain the idea, explain the things
Mm-hmm.
behind this idea, give a I would prefer a robust concept of the idea, and you can get that in 30 minutes. But I don't think you're gonna be able to make a clip about something crazy or not something that's really life changing in 3 minutes or less than that. That's
I
why
mean,
I think
I don't know
I
if you
think
can
short
do it
videos should
in
just be for
three
entertainment.
minutes. I think you probably like for instance, my 8 minute video about on a gaming channel about don't play their opinion, play the game can be conveyed in 3 minutes. It can be conveyed in a minute. Now, it's the defense of it that takes longer because for some reason, people have opinions on things they did not do. And that's weird to me. Like I made a great metaphor. I have never had sardines. So I have no opinion of sardines. If you ask me what my opinion of sardines are, I don't have one. All I know is that they're salty. That's the only thing I've ever been told about. I have no desire to eat sardines because I honestly, I'm not very brave when it comes to eating new food. I'm kind of the chicken and the sausage dude. If it could be that simple for me, I'm good to go.
Eh, what was this comment?
He said, my son is watching shorts about the body. 3 minutes of short learning from my son is nice. Now, I agree. I think in 3 minutes, look, I remember in my literature class, I think it was literature 300 or something like that, or world literature, or some nonsense in college. There was a writer that said if you cannot tell an entire succinct set of ideas in 3 sentences, then your paragraph is trash. And a paragraph, we should become better and more capable in expressing an idea in that amount of time. I like the 3 minute shorts. I
Yeah.
I think I can do it. That's really exciting to me, and it's a challenge because the reason I made that video, I looked at all these other gaming videos, and they were like an hour long. I said, "Can I say something that they say in less time?" And I did it in 8 minutes, and I made it fun to watch. So then I was like, "Well, then I can do it even in less time."
Okay, well,
Beginning,
if you're up for that
what's your
challenge, by all
argument?
means. But
What's your defense of that argument? What's your evidence of that argument? Done.
hey,
3 minutes.
I've never been a big fan of short form, extremely short content. I look to me anywhere from like I said, that 10 to 15, 20, 30 minute video is always good enough for me, unless it's something that I really want to know a lot about. Then
Forget
I'll
you,
get into
son.
it. Crazy. All right, moving on because what we got next?
Oh my goodness. Oh, all right. We got college football. Kenny, man, what happened to your boys? What?
I
How did
have not
Georgia
been.
allow Alabama to? One, okay, two things that happened. One, Georgia is better than they have been playing because before that game, them scoring 30 points, I was like, I guess Georgia doesn't have an offense. Well, that's not true because in the entire second half of that game, they came from back from nowhere to about to win the game. So somebody's an impersonator here. Either Georgia is as good as I said they were at the beginning of the season, and Alabama is not as good as I said at the beginning of the season, or Georgia has a Michigan deficit. See, people think Michigan has been beating Ohio State. That's false. Michigan is 3-17 against Ohio State. They've won 3 games recently, but they've been getting beat 17-3. I think Georgia has the Michigan issue. Georgia is better than Alabama, but whenever Alabama comes to their house, somehow they have that footsteps. Like they're intimidated by them. And that shit gotta change, man. Because Georgia's better than that. Your position.
I I have not been watching any college football, so I do not know anything of what you're about to talk about for real. I'll be
Oh
honest with
my
you.
goodness. How you gonna be in Georgia not watching the game? I feel you. You're
I got
retired, you
other
get to
things.
chill. So this
Yes.
weekend, Ohio State plays Iowa. Now, this is for me, Ohio State is a scary team. Either Ohio State is the greatest college football team that's ever existed, or they're an imposter. We just don't know because every week they stomp a mud hole in everybody. They just don't let anybody score, but they look pedestrian doing it. But the second half, there's no running, there's no scoring. The last game, the most that Ohio State, the average score for Ohio State against them is 6.5 points. They have scored 159 points. In the second half, the most yards that a team has had on them is 63. Now, I just don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with what I'm seeing because every week they're like, oh, this is the challenge for Ohio State. And then there's no challenge. Michigan State is just going to do what they want to, and they're going to expose Ohio State, and they don't. Michigan State comes to the house. They score less. They score less than the team of five does. Right? All right. Fine. Now we got Iowa, who cannot pass. We got Ohio State, a defense that does not let anybody run on them. All Iowa does is run. Ohio State can just fill the box, and they have some of the best cornerbacks in college football and go, we dare you to throw on us one on one. So I don't, it should be 100-0. It should be. They should be able to just end these guys. They can't throw the ball and make Kate McNamara throw against Ohio State in single coverage. Make him win those. Make RDBs make it happen. So I don't know what I'm expecting here. Maybe Ohio State, once again, another week where somebody's supposed to challenge them, and we just don't see it until we get to Oregon. Now, Kenny, you may not have been paying attention, but I have been. So we got Auburn and Georgia. Georgia's coming off that loss to Alabama. They're playing back-to-back Alabama teams. What the fuck is an Auburn, man?
It's a place. What do you mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, what the fuck is an Auburn? Like, other than like a place, they have they're not they're nothing. They don't have a
Look,
what is Auburn, a tree? I mean, that's like a Buckeye is a nut from the Buckeye tree. And it's appropriate for Ohio State Buckeyes because we are buck nuts. There's nobody who loves their team. Like Ohio State is the team of Ohio. It doesn't matter where you are in Ohio, you are born as a bucknut. When you're born in Columbus, you're given an Ohio State onesie when you're born. Like you are born a Buckeye. You know what I'm saying? He said
but
football. He says Auburn is football. It's football.
yeah,
So
but
I
I
guess
mean,
that's true too.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't. I look. I don't be watching sports like I used to no more. I don't really have the same gumption interest for it. I think the only sports I do watch is probably like the Super Bowl, and that's less for the game and more for the commercials or for the food. But yeah, I really ain't been tracking on anything with the sports, and if I would have known, I would have looked into it a little bit more. But I haven't been tracking anything. But yeah, I will say the one thing I do know because I got people from Alabama that I know, and usually I would poke with them with rivalry, and it's always kind of a back and forth between Alabama and Georgia, and Alabama does win a lot more, in my opinion, that I can recall because I usually get the butt end of the jokes after the game is over. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so Auburn Tigers. Hopefully Georgia beat them. That's what I gotta say about it, and then they won't have a back-to-back loss against Alabama football team. So yeah, that's what I got.
I've seen clips of a slap competition. Um, this might be one of those situations where it's a slap competition. I think Georgia is a better team. Also, though, they put everything into that game to beat Alabama, and they may not have something left. And if Georgia loses 2 games back to back, they may be out of the playoffs. This is a crazy situation to be in. College football today is so exciting because it
Okay.
used to be one loss and you're out. But that's no longer true. You can lose one game. You got a game you can give away, But 2 games. It's like the level for me is higher now. Because once you lose that first game and you lose that first game early in the season, whoo, boy, you got a long road ahead of you. And Georgia got to play a lot of good teams, and Auburn could be looking for an upset. So for me, I'm
What's
calling
their record?
I'm calling Auburn in an upset and Georgia out of the playoffs after this week. It's crazy that we could be saying that, but hey, it's all going to go down tomorrow. I'm excited for the game. And with that said, Kenny, you can take us out of the show.
As usual, shout out to anybody that came through over on Facebook, Kick, Twitch, and YouTube. This is our Friday show. We're kind of shifting gears, I guess you could say. But D is working on getting up and running, particularly like a gaming channel and everything. So that'll be coming through. But shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to my family that showed up. Shout out to Strange Strain that came through, and whoever else is watching silently in the background. The chat is always open. If you pose a good question, we'll pop it up on the screen. This is Stirring It Up, where
Shout
we
out
just
to
kind of
James
bring up some.
Washington as well.
Yeah, that's my uncle.
Cool.
So we
I
just
thought he looked
bring.
familiar. He looked like your brother. I guess your brother looks like him.
No, but that's funny. But yeah. So thank y'all for being here. Greatly appreciated. This is Dianoia Stirring It Up. I am Kenny.
I'm Darrell, and we'll
And
catch
we'll
you
catch you on the next one.
guys on the next one.